Good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime Series, proudly powered by leadershipbydesign.co, where we aim to add value to people's lives. You can catch us live every Wednesday and Thursday at lunchtime on ebizradio.com, where we talk about everything leadership, coaching, and marketing. And you can catch us on the Lunchtime Series on all your major podcast channels today. In our marketing and communications segment today, we've got our marketing and communications expert and co-host, Craig Page-Lee. How are you doing, Craig?
Kevin, I'm great. Thanks. Yeah, good to be chatting again. Had a wonderful weekend and was lucky enough to get to go and watch the Australia Springboks Rugby Championship tournament. I know you're not immersed in sport as much as I am, but in case you didn't know, the Rugby Championship is an annual international rugby union competition between Australia, Argentina, South Africa, and New Zealand. These are the four highest ranking national teams in the Southern Hemisphere. And then the similar tournament that happens in the Northern Hemisphere is the Six Nations tournament. And I must tell you, what an incredible experience. 51,000 really happy spectators and a great win for Australia. Did you watch the game at all? I'm from South Africa, not Australia, gosh.
I'm a gay man, but I'm not a dumb man. I know what the Six Nations are, right?
Good one.
No, I didn't know that they were playing. I don't have DSTV or anything like that, so I just do online television. But I mean, I did see the Facebook posts and everything. And at that level, like, when you've got so many people in a stadium and all rooting for a country, there's nothing like it. It's the one thing that does work in this country really well.
You're absolutely right. Yes. And in fact, I did post that to a couple of my old schoolmates, that if there is anything that actually brings that united sort of essence to the country, is great sporting events like this. And it's just such a pity that, it only happens around the sport. It just would be great if it happened to that extent in every facet of life in this country, really.
But you know what, I like, just on that point, what was interesting about this week, because of the snow, funny how, South Africans took to the streets and posted like anything but crime and Eskom and politics. Like, it was so nice to just see like a range of South Africans just experiencing the snow and, just posting something different, and really just, it suddenly took away, for a moment, it took away the underlying anxiety that we
it allowed us to just shift our point of view and thinking at a particular point in time, just to get literally a fresh perspective. Quite right about that, and quite unique,
And especially now, when you go and check the news, when you're flipping through the news and it's actually speaking about the snow in Johannesburg, I'm like, thank heavens, it's just like new and something else.
Absolutely, I like that. Yeah.
But Craig, as we kick it off today, what are the reminder points to last week's conversation?
Yeah, Kevin. So last week we continued the discussion on CMOs, shifting the conversation from 2 weeks ago, where we looked at what was important to CMOs in 2023 and what was shaping their marketing agenda. And we shifted last week to the role that CMOs can and should play in the boardroom. And the reminder points are from the article titled, "Want to Grow Your Brand? Put Your CMO in Your Boardroom." The article was written by Margot J., former Forbes Council member and CEO of the integrated of 365 Integrated, a global brand strategy firm. And the article was published to Forbes on 25th of Jan 2022. And the article is structured around key themes, these being: what can the CMO bring to the boardroom? What bringing the CMO in, why bringing the CMO in makes sense, and what's holding us back. So starting with what the CMO can bring to the boardroom, we learned the following. Sales and marketing team members are the people closest to any company's customers, as they interact with customers and hear about changing shopper behavior. They stay close to end consumer through ongoing research and analysis, delivering real rich data-driven campaigns and staying ahead of emerging trends. And with this in mind, it goes without saying that CMOs are the pulse of the consumer, understanding their needs, and acting actually as the voice of the consumer in any boardroom or at any board level discussion, Kevin. The second point is why bringing the CMO in makes sense, and we learn the following from this point. Yeah, the CMO is in charge of the company's brand, strategizing about how to reach customers, about messaging, looking at the brand vision and saying, this is how we execute. With these responsibilities and functions in place, we question why CMOs are not more involved in discussions about where the brand is going. And the key point to note here is that boards are typically filled with operations and finance people who make decisions relating to the brands. And this can definitely cause them to vote subjectively without the depth, skill, or insights to make the right decisions. One therefore needs to ask, if you're going to put a CMO in charge of your brand and your consumer, why are you leaving them out of key decision making? And why you're not asking for the insights at a board level. And then the final point from the article takeaway is what's holding us back. And we learned the following. One of the reasons why we don't see more CMOs in the boardroom has to do with how a lot of companies actually see marketing. And as we know, many see marketing as a cost center where obviously the first cuts are made when budgets are tight. We also know that most companies invest during good times, but dial back marketing extensively and the likes through lean times, as we've noted before, quite the opposite of what they actually should be doing. Companies often don't see marketing as the consumer engine to brand, rather they see the sales as the engine. In these instances, it's easy to see the CMO as less important than some of the other decision makers in the business, Kevin. And those are the key reminder points from last week's conversation.
Fantastic. Guys, if you want to check it out, go and check it out on your major podcast channels. That's the Lunchtime series, or you can check it out on YouTube, where you can see Craig and I in person, and our wonderful faces and how good looking we are. So what are we going to be chatting about today?
Kevin, I want to pick up on a topic that we actually haven't covered for a long time now, namely that of social media, and actually some of the key trends that are emerging over the past year and a half into 2023. What's interesting is I came across two different reports on the same topic, both produced by GWI, the leading audience targeting company for global marketing industry. And the reports compile insights on how consumers think and are actually used by agencies, media organizations, and multiple international brands to be able to get close to understanding consumers a bit better.
So I'm glad that we're having this conversation because there's a new app that's arrived, and I'm sure you're going to mention it, right?
So interestingly, I'm not going to mention it until the end of the month.
Okay,
it is the fastest download. It is the fastest download app to hit 100 million users ever. Okay, yeah. But I'm waiting to just see a bit more of the angle that Musk has taken. There's a legal challenge. He believes that some of his former employees have gone in and shared some unique code that was only possible in their particular proposition, and he's now seeing it in the other proposition. So yes, we'll wait to see the dust settle, and then I'll pick up on that one. Believe me.
But it's almost exactly like the other one.
Correct.
I like when you look through it, you're kind of going, this looks exactly like Twitter looks like. Like it's a bit strange. Okay, so yeah, tell us.
So jumping into our conversation today, the first report is the GWI report titled "Social Media Behind the Scenes 2023 Trends Report." And Kevin, I want to start by providing some background on the methodologies deployed in compiling the insights shared in the report, because it's really important to understand the depth that these companies go to bring, substantiated, legitimate insights to the market, because as mentioned, agencies and media owners, the likes, use these insights to actually shape their strategies. So GWI interviews over 950,000 internet users aged 16 to 64 across 52 markets annually. And this represents 2.7 billion internet users worldwide. The respondents complete an online questionnaire with a whole range of questions about their lives, lifestyles, and digital behaviors. And the research is reflective of the online population in each market, not the total population. GWI then sets an appropriate realm of quotas on age, gender, education, that ensures representation on the number of men versus women of 16 to 24-year-olds, 25 to 34-year-olds, 35 to 44-year-olds, 45 to 54-year-olds, and then 55 to 65 as a 64-year-old. So 5 clearly defined age segments there. And then the report also reviews number of people with secondary versus tertiary education. So a robust methodology, Kevin, and this really does help produce highly informative and accurate insights.
So, I mean, Craig, why do consumers use social media? I mean, like it's an obvious question, but I think some people still don't understand it.
Yeah, it's a great question, and the report really brings a good bit of insight to this. But interestingly, to answer that question, I'm going to reference the second GWI report that I came across this time, titled GWI Agency Guide to Social Media. And I actually want to pick up on this report in next week's conversation because it really talks to how agency world can use these methodologies to understand social media better, to be more effective in their social media strategies. And the article notes the following in response to the question. Across the board, staying in touch with friends and family is the top reason for using social media, which is proof that despite a snowstorm of marketing content flooding our feeds, social media's original purpose hasn't been lost. People still crave human connection with others, especially loved ones. Older groups also tend to follow news stories on social channels, with younger groups more interested in busting boredom. Gen Z stands out for using social media to find fresh content, while Gen Alpha are here for a laugh. FOMO is real, so send your best memes their way.
Yes, I agree. I think that, my daughter definitely falls into that category. But
Really?
I think the connection part for me, what I find useful about using Instagram and Facebook still is that it becomes a memory book, because if you look back on Facebook has moments where it reminds you what happened 10 years ago, and then you go,
Yes,
"Wow,"
yes.
especially in my business and stuff. So from that context, I find I find it quite useful. I look at social media as a tool, not only for my business but also as a bit of a recollection of my life, actually.
Yes, yes. That's great. But then to that point, the chart on page 12 of the report actually provides a breakdown on those top reasons for using social media. And it looks at the percentage of social media users in each of those generational segments who say they mainly use social media for the following reasons. So when you look at Gen Alpha, Kevin, 55% use it for talking to family and friends, 51% for finding those funny posts and memes, and 51% actually seeing what their friends are doing. Bit of a voyeuristic app. Gen Z, on the other hand, 46% use it for keeping in touch with family and friends. 42% use it to fill spare time. Really interesting stat that. And 34% use it for finding content. The millennials, 49% use it for keeping in touch with family and friends. 38% filling spare time, and 36% reading news stories. Gen X, 55% use it for keeping in touch with family and friends, 39% using it for reading news stories, and 36% filling spare time. And then the baby boomers, 60% keeping in touch with family and friends, 41% reading news stories, and 34% filling spare time. And what's really interesting here, Kevin, is that apart from reading news stories, baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z all use social media for filling spare time, ranging from 34% of time by baby boomers right up to 42% of time by Gen Z.
Yeah, that is that's a lot of time for filling spare time. You could be
I
learning
know.
a degree, or you could
Yeah, well, maybe there are components of that in there, because it's quite an open-ended conversation. Maybe when they do the next level down on the tertiary versus secondary education piece, some of that might actually filter through into this. But yeah, it was quite interesting. But obviously, the most important obvious point here is that baby boomers being the older generation segment in this report, it's expected that they'd spend most of their time using social media for keeping in touch with family and friends, whereas the youngest generation is using it for other things, much lower percentage around talking to family and friends.
Well, I'm surprised that they're not filling it with spare time. I like looking at those stats. You kind of go, I would assume that, Gen Alpha would definitely be filling time to kind of just do nothing and just be lazy
Well,
and kind of flip
I
through
think
stuff.
I think maybe that's the reference to the point that they're actually checking out what their friends are doing and not necessarily engaging in those conversations or those online relationships, but actually just spending the time, through the social channels, just with check-ins, checkouts, and seeing what everybody else is doing, and not necessarily contributing to those conversations or contributing in a meaningful way to those conversations.
So, I mean, Craig, with having a general idea of why we consume as the use of social media, with this in mind, how much time do consumers spend on social media?
Yeah, that's another good one, Kevin, because the report opens this particular chapter with the following statement: time spent on social media has hit a ceiling. And this is explained over 3 paragraphs, which read as follows. So the first paragraph states this: of the 48 markets that the GWI researchers tracked since Q1 2022, users' daily time spent on social media has actually decreased in 36% of the markets. This is only the second time that we've seen global usage drop year on year since GWI started tracking in 2012, with an average daily use in Q1 2023 falling below that of 2019, Kevin. Paragraph 2 states that the shift suggests the time spent on social media has reached a ceiling, while we see more dramatic fluctuations in emerging regions like the Middle East and Africa. No other region's daily use has changed by more than 6 minutes in either direction in any given wave over the past 3 years. North America is the only outlier, with usage continuing to tick upwards past its lockdown peak. And that for me was quite interesting. It is the only country that shone out in the report there. And the final paragraph of this opening section actually concludes with a point that states, it's fair to say the pandemic-induced boom has largely leveled out. Yes. The key takeaway for brands and businesses, though, is that changes are less about how long online users are spending on social media, but more about how and where they are choosing to spend their time, Kevin.
Yeah, and it still begs the question on how do you effectively use it as a tool. So
Yeah.
it's still, it's a big conversation for brands to have, and how it's evolving and how it's changing.
Well, let's look at some of the stats. So a key reason given by GWI in the report resonates. The one portion that did resonate with me is that South Africa is actually represented in the methodology. So it's really great to see that we're up there with many of the other nation states outside of the expected US, Western Europe, China kind of studies.
Yeah.
So let's take a quick look at the average time spent using local social networks per day, measured in hours and minutes, between that period of 2018 to Q1 2023. And I've just picked about 4 or 5 of the countries here. So, Kevin, the global average time spent using social networks per day has increased from 2 hours 20 minutes in 2018 to 2 hours 26 minutes in 2023, a nominal increase by all accounts. In South Africa, the average time spent using social networks per day has increased from 2 hours 59 minutes in 2018 to 3 hours 34 minutes in 2023, and that is a substantial increase. In the USA, as we mentioned, the average time spent using social networks per day has increased, this time from 2 hours and 5 minutes in 2018 to the expected 2 hours 16 minutes in 2023. In the UK, the average time spent using social networks per day has actually decreased from 1 hour 52 minutes in 2018 to an expected 1 hour 46 minutes in 2023. And in China, the average time spent using social networks has also had a nominal increase, this from 2 hours 1 minute in 2018 to the expected 2 hours 4 minutes in 2023. So very negligible increase there. But of the 52 countries listed, Kevin, 17 of those reflect a decrease in average time spent using social networks per day. That's over 30% of the countries measured are actually decreasing in time spent.
It's interesting that South Africa's increased the way that it has. Like,
yes.
You kind of, if you relate what's happening in the country, it might be due to, instability of the country. It might be to checking the news and what is happening in the news, because and Eskom, of course,
yes.
there could be factors playing into that. I
Very
don't
much so.
necessarily think it's because we're dumbing down. I think we're just living.
No, I agree with you. I think the reality is that there's a lot happening in politics and economics in our country, social structure issues and things like that, and it's very much a voice for those kinds of issues. Absolutely, Kevin.
What are some of the standout trends or points that you've noticed in the report?
Yeah, Kevin, so both reports are filled with some lovely, rich insights, and yeah, it's difficult to try and filter those down to a few. That said, I've pulled the following key points from the first report. Again, just a reminder, that was titled Social Media Behind the Scenes 2023 Trends Report, and these are noted as follows. So firstly, Facebook is still the most widely used app worldwide and is well supported by the younger consumers, and the number of monthly users has dipped slightly since Q4 2020. The data set shows a drop in the number of business professionals saying that their company uses the platform in the last year. That said, Facebook is still a popular channel in the B2B space. WhatsApp is the second biggest platform worldwide, and also one that often doesn't get the attention it deserves. This is partly because it's not as big in the US market, as interestingly, only 9% of workers in the US state that their company has a work-related account on the app, and that's much higher in South Africa. Brands, especially international ones, are benefiting from experimenting on WhatsApp, creating community groups and offering one-on-one consultations and sending promotional offers to their subscribers. Another important area for gaining traction among social media platforms is short form content, Kevin. And we've picked up on this in one or two of our talks before. It is a big trend. But interestingly, it's not at the expense of longer format trends. So you're not seeing sort of a constant of the volume of content shifting from longer format to shorter format. You're actually seeing an increase of content, obviously, but a rapid growth of short form content. 45% of consumers are on TikTok, 67% are on YouTube. And in terms of long form content, Instagram Live can actually last up to 4 hours, and Reels opportunities are getting much longer as well. And the report notes that things don't just move in one direction, and it's useful to vary up content length. So yes, as a brand, there'll be moments where you have your packaged short form content, and then there'll be moments where you really have much more longer form content, probably educational pieces, that touch tell kind of stuff versus the hard coded sell kind of stuff.
What's interesting is that WhatsApp is WhatsApp, and it's a form of communication, but you don't generally, well, I don't generally see it as a relative app in comparison to Facebook or Instagram or TikTok. Like it's almost not, we almost kind of disregard it as as an app. Well, in my head, I assume it's more like just like email, like communication. So, but it's still an app.
Yeah, very much so. It is still an app, but it's very much more a communication platform, and many businesses are using it for that. Yeah, I've got multiple what groups on my phone, all structured around different clients and different projects. But Kevin, moving from the biggest or most widely used stats, the report also looks at the most popular or favorite social media platforms. And yeah, interestingly, WhatsApp is actually considered to be the consumer's favorite platform going into 2023. WhatsApp's very popular amongst older groups, and actually debunks the myth that companies with younger target audiences are the only ones that stand to benefit from reaching out to consumers on this particular platform. Instagram is considered by a significant margin by Gen Z to be their favorite. Facebook is still very much the heart of consumer social media experience. And this is an obvious one. TikTok continues to gain more appeal over time. And it's interesting to note that Gen Z are more likely to say it's their favorite app. And the number one of baby boomers who listed as their top pick has more than doubled since 2021, with a growing number of accounts belonging to users aged 60 and older. Take note, with over 1 million followers, Kevin. That surprised me. But referencing the charts on page 28 of the report, we note that the percentage of social media users outside of China who say the following is their favorite platform: WhatsApp, 21%; Instagram, 21%; Facebook 20%, TikTok 9%, Twitter 5%, Facebook Messenger 3%, Telegram Messenger 3%, Pinterest 2%, and Snapchat 2%. But what's interesting there is WhatsApp having reduced by 1%, Instagram increasing by 5 percentage points, and Facebook, even though it has this popularity, has dropped by 14%. TikTok has gained by over 100%. Twitter dropped by 6%. Facebook Messenger dropped by 11%, Kevin. 350,083 social media users outside China are aged 16 to 64 responded to the questions. But Kevin, in closing on those headline key findings, it's important to know which platforms actually resonate with specific target audiences rather than just jumping to the conclusion that each audience is unique. It's definitely worth exploring across all of them. So to that point, I think, go for it.
So do you want to finish that point, or can I go to the next question?
No, go to it. Yeah, absolutely.
Talking about which platforms resonate with specific audience, what can you share about the overlapping of audiences?
Yeah, Kevin. So again, there's a great chart in the report. I think page 32. That gives a really nice matrix of showing the overlaps here. So I'll quickly pick up on a few of those. For instance, Facebook, there's an overlap of 82% in the Instagram space. Facebook, there's an overlap of 81% in the WhatsApp space. There's an overlap of 81% in Pinterest space, 87% in Instagram, and 83% in Twitter. If I go down to LinkedIn, for instance, there's an overlap of 29% with Facebook, 30% with Instagram, 31% with WhatsApp, Messenger 32%, 36% with Snapchat, and then as high as 39% with Twitter. So you can see, let's just have a look at TikTok, the fastest growing one here. We've got 51% overlap with Facebook, 52% overlap with Insta, 50% with WhatsApp, 56% with Messenger, and that I found quite interesting. 60% with Pinterest. Again, quite interesting there. Snapchat, 59%, Insta, 52%, and Twitter, 59%. So TikTok is by far showing a really even correlation of overlap with just about every single one of the other platforms out there, Kevin.
Yeah, and you see, when you see it like that, you have to ask the question, so how the hell are they getting it right? Because there's extremes on the others, but that TikTok is pretty unique, I suppose, and it's sort of delivering us something, and it's, it has up until now, with Reels trying to emulate or kind of do what they're doing.
Yes,
TikTok is still, doing a very unique thing, and I think they're making it a massive impact on how they as a player in apps, if you look at apps in general.
Yes, and the other one to watch is, Twitter's overlap all of these channels. What's going to happen now with the onset of our new channel over the next month to 3 months? Be really interesting to watch that one.
So, Craig, as we end the show today, what are the key takeaways for the listeners?
Kevin, the key takeaway points are from the article titled Social Media Behind the Scenes 2023 Trends Report, the first of the articles I mentioned. And there are 5 key insights that are identified in the report. And the first key insight is that of daily social media usage has hit ceiling globally. Since the pandemic peak, average daily time spent on social media has leveled off and declined in many regions. Only North America's figures go against the grain, with usage continuing to rise here. Baby boomers are also an outlier, which is another reason why brands should keep them in mind during the strategy discussions. The second key insight here is that WhatsApp is the favorite, but TikTok is definitely chasing. WhatsApp retains its position as the world's favorite platform, but rarely gets the attention it deserves. Meanwhile, TikTok's growth shows no signs of slowing down, with the number of consumers saying it's their top pick doubling in the past 2 years. And it's very important for brands to know which platforms are trending, but also be aware of the platform usage overlap, like we've just assessed, which reminds us that it's the quality of the engagements that matter. The third key insight here, Kevin, is reasons for logging on are changing in the West. The way Western consumers actually see social media and engages with certain platforms is shifting. The number of Western TikTokers saying they use the platform to keep up to date with the news, interestingly, with the news, has jumped up 41% in 2 years, while more turn to it for information about products and brands, which is what I would expect. Platform use cases aren't static, so it's key for brands to really stay on top of consumers' perceptions in the relevant markets. The fourth insight here is video and audio are king. Great to see that. Over the last year, the number of social media users who actually watch video on a range of platforms has grown. Other audio formats are gaining traction too, with Gen Z embracing voice notes. Brands might benefit from including more audio formats in their marketing, such as informative videos on social media or the ability to provide customer feedback via a voice note. I really like that proposition. And the fifth and final key insight here is social media is a key tool for discovery. Yeah, it's how we discover new brands and products is constantly evolving, Kevin, and now more Gen Zers actually say they found products on social media than on search engines, and millennials aren't far behind. With consumers preferring product discovery to happen more organically online, brands should aim to keep up with that, what's culturally important to the target audience and the questions that they're actually answering. And those are the key takeaway points for today.
Fantastic. Thank you, Craig. Thanks for checking out the new trends on social media. I think it's important that when we get to that threads conversation, that's going to be interesting to see how that fits into this.
Yes.
Interesting quote that I think you're going to like from Amy Jo Martin. She's an author, speaker, and entrepreneur. She says, social media is not a monologue, it's a two-way conversation. And it's she basically saying it's a dialogue, not a monologue. And some people don't understand that. Social media is more like a telephone than a television. Which
That's
I've never
beautiful. Yes, that's beautiful. Yes, it is. It's the push-pull. That's exactly it. It's conversational. It's not projected speak. It's conversational, and that's exactly it.
That's why people like the conversations, and that's why people comment, because there's that engagement.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Great. Thank you so much, guys. If you want to check it out, it's every Thursday on ebizradio.com, and that's at 12 o'clock, or you can check it out on YouTube or any major podcast channels.
Awesome, Kevin.
Good one. I'll chat to you soon.
Yeah, have a great week ahead. Thanks a lot. Cheers there. Bye.
Bye.